Eugene, last time we spoke, it was on the Thursday, and Izzy and the team were going out on the Friday. You stayed back for the Shuriken show.
Yeah, I'd stayed back and took care of those fighters. I think it was 7 or something. I think we won 4 and lost 3, but they were good losses, if there is such a thing. And I was super happy with, man, the young amateurs now, their level is so high now. And it's just because the professional level is so high. So it's a flow-on effect. It's feeding down, and you get these young professionals that are just seem like they're so seasoned, even like they're new in the game. But sometimes you have to use the amateur part of an athlete's career to develop them and develop some of the skills. And that I felt my guy lost because he tried to impose a higher level of skill, and it cost him the fight. But the fight isn't, at least in my mind, isn't about that one little battle you had. It's about the accumulation of your development over time. So that's just the way that we approach it at this gym. I've never seen guys in there to lose. I think you should always, but I'll definitely always send them in there with a clear goal on how to win, and try my best to or get them to impose that.
So that meant you left on the Sunday?
Sunday evening, yeah.
Oh, okay.
But then because of the time difference, you save a day. I arrived Sunday evening there in Miami. So I left Sunday evening in New Zealand and arrived Sunday evening in
So the final hard workout for Izzy was done? Or?
I missed it. It went on because they left on Friday, then they rested, then they did it on Saturday night, same time as fight time, about 12:30 at night. And then obviously I had Andre and Mike there and all the training partners there, and they ran through that, and they said that they reckon that was spectacular. They reckon, as an ordinary is, because that's kind of our last training, that's our last hurrah. Get your mindset right, get everything perfect, and do things to the best of your ability on that last training, and then bring on fight week. So I heard good things from that last fighter that we did. That was spectacular, and it set up a really good fight week. Yeah.
Talk about fight week, because I was watching a bit of the social media stuff, and Izzy was at softball game or baseball game, and do you think, well, it's hot out, we should be inside? Is there any restriction?
No, 100%. Everything is calculated, everything's approved. There was I felt that was a good team bonding exercise. It's like fight week is not like, fight week's about recuperation, relaxation, and mindset, and the physical stuff's been done. It's about the mental side of things. So it's about bonding the team together, getting the right group of guys together, and getting the right mindset amongst the team, putting Israel in a good place, and little things like that. As long as they're set up right, you wouldn't want to go, like we're in some millionaire's corporate box up in comfort and air conditioning, and we had fully catered, like it's not like we're in the heat outside at the back, seat number 1000. Like, you just make sure that everything's just, you don't want to obviously do something that was detrimental, but that's something we planned, and we thought was really, that just, everything just sets up the week. Everything just tunnels and funnels into that one moment. So, man, I thought that was fantastic. The boys had a good time, and we bonded and got together, and we just helped set up the week. So it was pretty cool. It was my first baseball game.
Did Izzy have to start cutting weight? When did he start cutting weight? Did he have to be careful what he was eating?
Yeah, a little bit. Like, I don't know if he's in calorie deficit that earlier in the week. That was only a Tuesday, but he is very mindful. But we've got the fight dietitian, Geordie Sutherland. He's just walks around carrying Israel's with the inside of Israel's pocket. He has to carry Israel's pocket around everywhere. So he's never far, and everything that goes in, and to that end that goes out, as Geordie knows about. Geordie records, and he's, like, not everybody can afford their own private dietitian, but it takes a lot of hassle and guesswork out of the whole process. So
it would take a worry off your mind too.
Oh, 100%. Takes a massive worry off my mind. I'm not the best person to deal with when fighters are cutting weight and they're not. It looks like they're not handling it very well. I'm definitely not the best person to deal with. So it's good to have a professional on board.
So when do you start? Do you start a build up as far as the actual fight is concerned? I know you've done the whole, like, for 2 months or whatever, but getting close to the fight, like days out, do you start mentioning little things, or do you want to keep away the other way?
Yes, but actually, exactly, Tony. Like, to be honest, in fight week, there's a lot of having nothing to do with fighting. Yeah. That's kind of like more our goal. So again, it's a reduced training regimen because we're not in fight camp anymore. We're trying to recover, but we still need to keep the body sharp and the mind sharp. So we reduce it down to one really short quality training at the end of the day. At the start of the week, it's around the same time as we fight, but this fight week, as the week progressed, we brought it earlier and earlier, so it made it easy so we could get to sleep earlier. And I think that paid off. But for the most part, it's forgetting about that we're even in a fight. It's just. But then when we do our one training, that brings everything back. Then we're like, okay, this is what we came for. This is why we're here. We're still here for a purpose. As much as we try to, distract ourselves and forget that there's a big fight, now's the time to, like, jog the memory and be like, this is what we're here for. This is the business. So we do that at night time, and then it's a very serious time, and that's when we kind of, like, regain that focus, if you like.
I was watching Dana White. It outsold Madison Square Garden, and it was like a huge crowd, biggest they've ever had or something at the venue. The atmosphere was as good as anywhere else you've been to, or?
Yeah, unbelievable. You just can't, you can't. You just can't beat a good old-fashioned fisticuff in a small ring or a cage with 30 or 40,000 people watching. There's just nothing like it in sports. And if it's an exciting fight, it's even better. And if there's something that happens all of a sudden out of nowhere, like what happened on Saturday, that's just even better. Electrifying atmosphere. There's one thing watching like 30 guys run around the field, that has its own uniqueness, but there's something about just watching two people engaged in combat and being on the edge of your seat, because both the two people can, if you blink, you might miss something. There's just something about just the tension in the air and having all those people in that atmosphere. It's pretty special. It absolutely went off in there, yeah. It went off.
The two best stand-up fighters in MMA, and as you say, both can just end it like that. And before you went away, you said that was I think the word you used was the most intriguing part, was their team against our team, because you've both got weapons that can end it. So satisfying it must have been when it was your team that come out on top.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they have a very good team, and a lot of respect goes to their team. Satisfying for us, for me and personally, because I tried to beat the guy 3 times, and arguably, out of those 3 times, my team, Israel, we won most of those minutes, but we just keep getting at the last, we just cannot get our foot over the line. So to do it is to finally get it over the line is tremendously satisfying, knowing that we were to some extent pipped at the post the other 3 times. I was tremendously confident. Probably possibly the most confident I've ever been. Just because I knew that we had just let the victory just slip out of our fingertips. And I just, in a rudimentary kind of way, I was like, the universe is not going to smile on you 4 times. And I also just was confident in the game plan that the team had given Israel and his mindset and his ability. And also that we had just come up with a radically new game plan from what we had had in the previous 3 fights. I must also mention that I was not the lead architect of that game plan. And I had to remove my ego from the situation, stand back and be like, you know what, man, I've tried to beat this guy 3 times. And although you can find success in those 3 attempts, at the end of the day, they failed. Let's try something else. Let's get someone else. Let's get someone else's opinion. And who better than a bunch of guys that I think are the best, the best MMA coaches in the world. 4 guys, Frank, Andre, Tristram, and Mike. And I relied on them heavily. And I did that because I thought that, I've tried 3 times and failed. Let's approach this differently. Let's see what we can come up with. If perhaps I'm not the one that's the key driving force behind it. And sure enough, the boys did a hell of a job. This was our most studied opponent, which is hard to do. I mean, I studied Max Holloway 3 times, and it was an exhausting process. Exhausting. But we studied this guy more. It was amazing. Tristram and Mike, they did an amazing job putting together, bringing to light certain things that, certain angles and approaches that I didn't have, that weren't at the forefront of my mind. I took those, and then we all just got together. It was an amazing synergy that we had for this fight. But it was not led by me. It was led by Tristram and Mike, and then Andre, and then of course Frank and myself. We added our bits onto it, and then it just developed, and then it was, in my opinion, what Tristram and Mike came up with, the bones of what they came up with, was the winning of the fight. And then obviously Israel had to execute it, but the foundation has to be laid before that.
In saying that, the plan, would you have trusted any other fighter other than Israel to be able to carry out that plan?
No. Yes, I would have, but I would not have had the confidence with any other fighter than I do with Israel, because there's just one person who I've worked with for so many years, who we can just know each other, know what each other's thinking, and know what each other's doing. And if there's one fighter that can pull off what we want him to do, it's Israel Adesanya. So I do have other fighters that can implement a game plan, but he will be the fighter that I would have the most confidence in, that he will be successful in doing it. Yeah, for sure.
That game plan, it needed him to go into the jaws of death, basically.
Yeah, I mean, I never like to reveal too much, but there's some obvious things here, right?
Yeah.
We needed to take some risks in this fight. We identified some defensive flaws that we thought we could take advantage of, but those taking advantage of those flaws was wrought with danger. We needed Israel to discover a part of him that he had left a little bit behind. We needed to go back 30 or so fights when he was fighting high-level kickboxers, and he was working in this particular range. He's been fighting, without mocking, without trying to talk down the ability of some of the fighters he's been fighting recently in the UFC, but he's been fighting a lower level of opponent in terms of the stand-up. So he's able to get away with, you're able to get away with certain things against these guys that you're not able to get away with against a high-level stand-up guy who's a boxer or a kickboxing. And it's no mock on those guys, it's just time. These guys have specialized. These guys have solely dedicated a massive portion of their life to that one aspect. And those other guys, they're great fighters, but they're great fighters at everything, you know, and these guys are specialists. So we don't need Israel to go back and find some of his old self and understand that, you know, there's just certain things that are going on here that you were a master of and you're still a master of. Let's just pull them out of the toolbox and see how we go. So yeah, we had to take more risk in this fight, but that's the path that the boys saw and we came to an agreement on, and yeah, our game plan reflected that. You're going to see Israel move a lot less. You're going to see Israel lead a lot more. And our job as coaches, we felt, was to give Israel more opportunities to take advantage of some of those defensive flaws that I'm talking about. And although it wasn't that was all Israel who baited Pereira to come forward against the cage, that was his take of what we wanted him to do. He was just the comfort that he had developed in the training camp with being able to be there and know that he can exchange with Pereira and he'll be fine, and his punches will beat Pereira to the dot if he's in the right position, his feet are in the right position, he's got the right angles. The comfort that he gained over the fight camp, I mean, that's all due to just a well structured and put together camp.
I talked to Timsy before, and he was saying, you know, that Izzy was more confident. He seemed more confident. Did you see that as well? Did you see, like, going into the fight that he was confident? I watched his style bender thing the other day, and he said, "Here's Eugene telling me to calm down, calm down." Do you think he was like, I'm up, I'm ready, I can do it?
For sure. I think this is the thing, like, the way that we structured it in our head, or the way that I did at least, and I think Israel, is not how people think. I think people just expect 3 losses, a couple of those losses devastating. Man, it must be in his head, but we didn't think of it like that. We didn't think of it like that. We didn't structure it like that in our head. The way that we looked at it was 3 losses that we basically almost won and got pipped at the post. So let's just not get pipped at the post this time. Let's just do what we did in those 3 fights, but let's just finish it. Let's keep that absolute focus and finish the job. And so when you think about that, like in our mind, we won most of the minutes of those fights. We just needed to just be absolutely perfect and refine some of the things, tweak a few things that were, you know, that Pereira had taken advantage of, and that was it. So we were still surprised. That's what I was still quite confident of that we could do. I felt that we could do it. I felt the 4th fight was our time to really, you know, like, take advantage of the things that we've seen that we weren't quite able to do in the other 3 fights, but we were so close. The confidence came that we were so close those other 3 times.
I know a lot of trainers went the other way and said, we've got to be more defensive so we don't get caught again. But you went out and be more aggressive because and that you won't get the chance to catch you again, basically.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, basically we needed Israel to be more aggressive, but we needed him to lead more. We needed him to be smart about it, but we needed him to lead more. We needed him to be better in the mid-range, where he used to be a master of, but he hasn't needed to be a master of, because he can just beat guys on the outside where they can't touch him. Well, you can't do that against a high-level kickboxer anymore. Like, this is high level. Like, this isn't, you know, you're not fighting guys you're fighting a guy that's done stand-up his whole life. You know, you're not fighting guys that just do stand-up as a part of their MMA skill set. So, like, you know, we had to bring, I'm not going to say new things to that, but we had to bring back old things and bring them back onto the table and unlock them, and that's what he did, and he did a fantastic job. Yeah, everything that we kind of worked that we thought would happen in terms of the where we thought we could catch Pereira, all those opportunities, they did present themselves again. You know, Pereira weirdly, yeah, I don't know. He used to be a great counter fighter, right? He used to get on the front foot, but he also the thing that made him difficult is because he was pretty good on the back foot, and he would do a lot of counter fighting if you tried to be aggressive on him. But for some reason in MMA, he's not as keen to do that. I think it may be the small gloves. Being a counter fighter in MMA is really, really hard. And it's a lot different to being a counter fighter in like boxing and stuff when you got the 10-ounce, 8-ounce gloves on. There's a little bit of margin for error there. But being a counter fighter, you know, you got to remember the nature of being a counter fighter. You're letting them punch first, and you're countering them. That's very dangerous. It's even more dangerous in 4-ounce gloves. I think that might be the reason for that he was reluctant to bring the counter fighting part of his game into MMA. But what it meant was, you know, that Israel was able to lead and not necessarily have to have to worry so much about a counter coming, since that he kind of eliminated that from his game a lot. Yeah.
When it happened and it was all over, was it relief, satisfaction, jubilation, everything mixed together, I suppose, for you personally?
Just jubilation and happiness, you know, like Pereira's a special fighter. They don't come along every now and then. You know, I already talked about this. Like, you're either born with this sort of power or you're not. Everybody in this MMA can punch and knock someone out because you've got such small gloves on, okay? This kind of power, all those people that do that, if you put a 20-ounce glove on them, they won't hurt you at all. They won't be able to do nothing to you. It doesn't matter what size gloves you put on Pereira or anyone. It doesn't matter what size gloves you put on George Foreman. It doesn't matter what size gloves you put on David Tor. Some people just, no amount of padding will. It's a natural thing. It's a recruitment of the body. How it's something else. It's all the fast twitch fibers. It's something genetically that they have, in my opinion. On top of their superior genetics, they're a fighter, so they've been working on how to punch and timing and recruiting the body and rotation and all of this thing, and they've been doing it for 10 or 15 years, sometimes more. So you've got that coupled with the genetics. Like it's almost a, you know, how do you stop yourself from getting knocked out? It's almost impossible.
Do you include Israel in that group of hard hitters?
No. No, I don't. No, I don't. That's a different kind of power. That's a developed power. That's a developed power. In Israel, knockout ratio is clearly a lot more than when he had 10-ounce gloves on and stuff. I tell you what, though. I tell you what. You know, like, Israel can hit. Man, he can hit. When he gets everything, all the timing and recruitment correct, man, it's as strong as any punch I've ever felt. Okay, is it his style to sit down and recruit his body and punch and give himself, you know, sit on that spot for an extra second and make himself a little? That's not him. But when he needs to, just like he just showed you then, and he's shown you at different times in the past, the kid can punch like. Yeah, I don't know. People I think people at the high level aren't silly. Like they know that just because you see a skinny guy in front of you, that's got nothing to do with punching power. But if you don't respect Israel's punching power, you're gonna be waking up facing the ceiling. Yeah, it's just crazy. That kid is be one of the hardest punchers in the division for sure, in my opinion. But not. It's a different. Pereira power is different. It's comes from a different place, if you understand what I mean. Yeah.
We saw after the fight, Izzy and Pereira, you know, respect for each other, and I know what you said before the fight about their team and that. Could you talk to their team? Did you get a chance to say anything?
No, not really, not really. Like, we don't always interact, but there's mutual respect there. Like, I respect his team. Like, he's a very good coach. Like, he's obviously been with Alex a while and takes him through some drills. They got another Brazilian guy who's really like, he seems like he lets the moment get to him a little bit. I forgot what his name is, but he is the kind of person that we probably wouldn't put in our corner, because he seems like he feels like he's in the fight. But he's not the person in the fight. We like calm heads, and he's just going absolutely nuts. Like, maybe he's not a fighter, or he's never been a fighter. I'm not sure, but for the most part, you know, there's the build up, and that's the build up. But then afterwards, like, who are these guys? These guys are just me and you. These guys are just guys that have a job and that are trying to make their lives better, and the people around them better, their kids, their wives, their grandmothers, grandfathers. They're just guys that are trying to get themselves ahead in life. And that's all that anybody ever wants in life, and that's all there is. I said in one of my other interviews, don't dehumanize these guys. You think of them as fighters, as these UFC fighters, these stars, but I don't see them like that. I see them as dudes that are going out and trying to, you know, provide for their family. They're just normal guys. They're just normal run-of-the-mill guys. There ain't nothing special about them, in my opinion, other than they got a very high-risk job, and they're very hard workers that are trying to maximise their talent. Other than that, you just could be any bloke on the corner.
I know you're not a drinker, but there would have been some celebration going on afterwards.
I had a Red Bull and vodka. Yeah. Tastes like shit, but you know, like, sometimes you know, if the boys are on, the boys are on. Like, yeah, I don't want to be the one guy that says, no, I have orange juice. But yeah, the celebration was mad. Miami's a different place in terms of comes to nightlife and stuff. So we're in a club and we were literally like this, and there's someone else here, there's someone else here, But I got out of there, yeah. I was the first one home. And then the boys came home later or something. I think I asked the guy, I was like, it was Saturday night obviously, and I asked the guy, oh man, I know Israel has to stay here for a certain amount of time, but you guys must be closing cities. He's like, brother, we close on Monday. I'm like, fuck. I'm like, damn. Yeah, but yeah, I think the boys just did a good 48-hour stint. And but I was home, but I was home when they were still going. They were still like in some random nightclub 2 days later, sending me photos. I was home.
In New Zealand?
In New Zealand, in my pajamas. Yeah. It's good.
So, you know, that's got to be a highlight of your career, a highlight at least.
In terms of me and Israel, like in our highlights,
yeah,
if you just in terms of me and Israel, it's probably second only to beating Robert in front of like 50, 60,000 people, like we did at Marvel Stadium. So it's probably second, and obviously that's because, you know, this world-class fighter bloody beaten us 3 times and we couldn't get the job done, even though we were so close. And to finally get it done is, it's a satisfying moment. Yeah, probably second to the Robert fight. So, yeah, very happy.
Fantastic, mate. Just catch up on around the gym. I had a little talk to Dan before. He seems to think that he might be fighting in July.
Yeah, hopefully. Nothing I can really say is locked down for him, but it's a work in progress. Bloods and Shane have been training. They're looking for something. Kai's got a date. I don't know if it's been announced, and Carlos has got a date. I think that might have been announced.
Carlos has been announced,
so he's in North Carolina, Charlotte. So that'll be good. That's I think that's Frankie's home state, so I'm not sure if Frankie will be there or not, but it'd be good to go out there somewhere different. But yeah, things are ticking along. Volk's working on a date. Yeah, it's getting busy again. Yeah. And then all the local guys, because they just keep on, you know, just keep on rolling, They just keep getting better. That's like the mantra in the gym. Like every day, just get better. 0.001% better. As long as you're accumulating those small percentages, and one day it'll pay off.
Well, it paid off big time last weekend, mate.
No worries. Thanks, Tim.
Fantastic. Oh, mate.